Graduation days are supposed to feel like victory. Mine felt like a countdown. From the moment I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, still warm from the dean's handshake, I knew the pride I felt would evaporate the moment I stepped back into my parents' orbit. That's how it had always been: joy, then disappointment, achievement, then dismissal. My life was a series of almost moments they trampled without even noticing. But I still hoped, naively, stupidly, that tonight would be different. My mother insisted on hosting a celebratory family dinner. She said it was important, that it would be good for all of us. I should have known right then something was off. Mom never arranged things for me. Only for Emily. Always Emily. The restaurant they chose was the kind I used to walk past as a kid, looking at the chandeliers through the windows and imagining what it must feel like to belong somewhere like that. Oak walls, velvet chairs, the faint smell of roasted garlic and wine, everything looked expensive enough to whisper around. But the moment we sat down, I felt the shift in the air. No warmth. No proud smiles. Just tension, coiled and waiting. My mother didn't congratulate me. Instead, she smoothed out her napkin and said sharply, "We need to talk." Emily's eyes flicked up from her phone just long enough to give me a smug little smirk. Dad leaned back in his chair, hands clasped over his stomach like he was presiding over a board meeting rather than his daughter's graduation. "I thought we were celebrating," I said, keeping my voice soft. Dad shook his head. "Don't play dumb, Iris. You know exactly why we're here." I felt my jaw tighten, but I stayed quiet. He continued, "Your grandfather's inheritance. It should go to your sister." There it was. They didn't even try to wrap it in kindness. Mom jumped in. "Emily's the one with a future. She needs funds for her dance studio plans. You chose literature. What exactly do you expect to do with that?" I blinked. "Grandpa left it to me. Not to the family. Not to Emily. To me." Emily leaned forward, lips curled in that fake, pitying grin she'd mastered since childhood. "Come on, Iris. Don't be selfish. You know this money would be wasted on you." Dad reached into a folder beside him and slid a document across the table. "Sign it." I didn't touch it. I didn't even look at it. "I'm not signing anything," I said simply. Dad's jaw clenched. "Iris, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You don't deserve Grandpa's money." Then, before I registered what he was doing, he reached into my bag, pulled out my diploma, and held it over the candle in the center of the table. For a second, the world slowed. Then the flame caught. The edge curled black. A curl of smoke rose upward. The parchment crackled as fire ate away at my hard work, my nights of studying, my years of fighting to succeed despite them. No one moved to stop him. Not my mother. Not Emily. The waiter rushed over, horrified, but Dad waved him away like I was some misbehaving child. "You do not deserve anything Albert left you," he growled, staring at the burning diploma until it folded into ash. I looked at the ashes. Then, I smiled. A small, controlled smile. And without raising my voice, without crying, without giving them the satisfaction of seeing me break, I stood and said, "You have no idea what you just did." Then I walked away, calm, collected, already knowing the storm that waited for them. The storm Grandpa had prepared. People assume betrayal is a single, sharp moment, one clean cut. But betrayal in my life was layered, slow, almost gentle in how it carved me down. A lifetime of tiny stings that eventually became scars. When my father burned my diploma at the graduation dinner, it didn't feel like a shocking moment. It felt like confirmation of everything they had spent years teaching me. You will never be enough. The drive home that night was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that fills your ears until your own heartbeat sounds like thunder. I didn't go home, though. I stopped my car in the parking lot of an empty park, turned off the engine, and let the darkness wrap around me. Not to cry, oddly, I couldn't, but to breathe. And to remember. Because whenever my parents hurt me, and they always did, it was Grandpa's voice that rose in my memory, steady and warm, like a lighthouse cutting through fog. He was the only person who ever really chose me. Growing up, Emily was put on a pedestal so high it scraped the ceiling. She was the gifted one, the miracle daughter after years of fertility issues. Mom wrapped her entire identity around Emily being perfect. Dad too. They poured money, attention, admiration into her as if loving me even a little would somehow dilute her shine. When Emily won an award, the whole house lit up with celebration. When I did, they said, "That's nice," and asked me to take the trash out. I remember once, in 6th grade, I got first place in the district spelling bee. I came home clutching my trophy, glowing. My mother barely looked at it. "Hurry and change," she said. "Your sister has a dance rehearsal." But Grandpa? He framed every certificate I earned. He kept every story I wrote in a wooden chest in his study, calling them early investments. He'd sit with me by the fireplace and read them aloud, proud as if I'd written the next great novel. "Your mind is your power, Iris," he told me. "It's the one thing they cannot take from you." He said this often. Too often, now that I think back. He must have known. My parents didn't just ignore me, they sabotaged me. When I applied to colleges, they forgot to submit paperwork. When I worked part-time to save up, they borrowed the money for Emily's expenses. When I picked my major, they mocked it openly. They wanted me small. Contained. Dependent. But Grandpa wanted me free. A few months before he died, he called me into his study. His skin looked thin as parchment, but his eyes, those sharp blue eyes, were fierce as ever. "Iris," he said, taking my hand, "your parents, they think they can shape you into what benefits them. But you're made of tougher materials." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. "You'll understand." The following week, I woke up with a strange sense of clarity. Not peace, not yet, but something steadier. Like the ground under me had finally stopped shaking. The appointment at the lawyer's office had been arranged by my parents. They texted me the time, the address, and a curt message, "Come prepared to sign what's needed." I didn't bother replying. Let them believe I was still the timid daughter they could bully into obedience. Let them think the inheritance was already theirs. Let them walk into that room unprepared. Grandpa would have appreciated the dramatic irony. The law firm was located on the 12th floor of a tall glass building, sleek and intimidating. The lobby felt like it swallowed sound, marble floors, echoing footsteps, chrome elevators. My parents were already there when I arrived, sitting stiffly side by side, a unified front of entitlement and irritation. Emily sat between them scrolling on her phone. She looked up at me only long enough to roll her eyes. "You're late," Mom hissed. "I'm on time," I corrected gently. That alone infuriated her. The receptionist led us to a long conference room with a polished wooden table and floor-to-ceiling windows. The lawyer, Mr. Langford, stood to greet us. He was in his 60s with silver hair and sharp, assessing eyes, the kind of man who rarely had to raise his voice to be taken seriously. He shook my hand warmly. "Iris. Your grandfather spoke highly of you." Dad scoffed. "Can we skip the pleasantries? We're here to finalize the transfer. Let's get this done." The lawyer's brows lifted slightly. "Transfer?" "Yes," Mom said, pulling out the same folded document from the restaurant. "She's signing everything to Emily." Mr. Langford didn't even glance at the paper. Instead, he opened a thick binder on the table, Grandpa's will, tabbed and meticulously organized. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," he said calmly. "Albert Hale left his entire estate to Iris." My mother blinked. "Excuse me?" Emily let her phone drop into her lap. "What? That can't be right. Grandpa adored me." "Grandpa adored anyone who adored Grandpa," Dad muttered. I stayed quiet, hands folded neatly. Mr. Langford cleared his throat. To be specific, Mr. Hale established that all assets, his home, business shares, savings accounts, and trusts, were to be passed solely to Iris under strict conditions. Dad leaned forward. What conditions? The lawyer flipped to a marked page. Condition 1, the beneficiary must complete a college degree independently. Meaning without undue financial manipulation, coercion, or sabotage from immediate family members. My parents stiffened. Emily looked confused. Mr. Langford continued, Condition 2, if the family attempts to pressure, intimidate, or emotionally force Iris to relinquish her inheritance, the will activates a protection clause. Protection clause? Mom repeated weakly. Indeed. He tapped the page. In that event, the estate increases in value to Iris by 30%, and the family forfeits all rights to contest, access, or challenge the will. The room went still, so still I could hear my own heartbeat. Then the lawyer pressed a button on a remote. A video appeared on the screen behind him. Restaurant footage. My diploma burning. My father yelling. My mother sneering. Emily gloating. They'd documented their own downfall. This, Mr. Langford said, was forwarded to our office automatically. Your father-in-law anticipated such behavior. Dad stood abruptly. This is absurd. You're manipulating the will. No, I said quietly, meeting his eyes for the first time that morning. Grandpa just knew you. My mother burst into tears. Iris, sweetheart, we were just trying to. I raised a hand. Don't. Emily sputtered, so what, you get everything? Just like that? Because Grandpa liked you more? My voice was steady. No. Because I earned it. The lawyer closed the binder. This meeting is over. And for once, my family had nothing left to say. I used to think revenge required fire, something loud, explosive, undeniable. But as I walked out of the lawyer's office, leaving my parents stunned and desperate in their seats, I realized something different. Silence can be louder than any explosion. The elevator ride down felt surreal. The city stretched out below the glass walls, glittering and indifferent. People bustled on sidewalks, unaware that my entire life had just split cleanly into a before and an after. Before, the daughter who bowed her head, swallowed her voice, tried endlessly to earn scraps of affection. After, the granddaughter my grandfather believed I could be, steady, capable, quietly powerful. That afternoon, I drove straight to Grandpa's house. My house now. The key, his old brass one, ornately carved, slid into the lock like it had been waiting for me all along. The scent inside hit me instantly, cedar wood, old books, and faint hints of pipe tobacco. My chest tightened, but not with grief, something warmer, something like home. I walked the familiar hallway, trailing my fingers along the wallpaper he'd installed himself. Frames lined the walls, black and white photos from his youth, pictures of my grandmother, a few of me as a child. None of my parents. None of Emily. He chose what mattered. I found the envelopes he'd left me tucked in his desk drawer, each one labeled with a different year. Letters he'd written ahead of time, knowing he wouldn't be around to guide me. I opened the top one. If you're reading this, then they've finally shown their teeth. I'm sorry you had to see it so clearly. But I'm proud of you. Not for winning anything, simply for surviving them. My throat tightened. I had to sit down. He continued. Your strength was never meant to be loud, Iris. Let them be the ones who shout. You stay steady. You stay kind. And when they realize they cannot control you anymore, your silence will be the loudest victory. And there it was. The truth I had always carried but never named, my revenge wasn't about punishing them. It was about releasing myself. Over the next few weeks, my parents tried everything: rage, apologies, guilt, threats. They left voicemails dripping with desperation. Your grandfather manipulated you, call us back. You owe us a conversation. You're being dramatic. Think of your sister. You've humiliated this family. Block. 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 It was the easiest thing I had ever done. Emily made dramatic posts online about fake family members and inheritance thieves, but people lost interest quickly. She'd always relied on spectacle. Without it, she faded. Meanwhile, I started rebuilding myself with quiet rituals. Replanting Grandpa's garden. Organizing his book collection. Opening the windows to let the late summer sun pour in. Cooking the meals he used to make for me when I was little. Every day felt like stitching a new version of my life together, one where I didn't apologize for existing. I framed what remained of my diploma, the scorched corner, the half-burned seal, and hung it above my desk. Not as a reminder of pain, but as proof that I had endured fire and still walked out whole.